Let's talk about Aaliyah's third album. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about I've been thinking I want to talk about how Aaliyah's last album could have been promoted better, and basically how with Aaliyah's first album, the rollout, the campaigning, the marketing, everything was pretty good. You know that it was the whole R. Kelly situation, but that's what it was. With Aaliyah's next two albums, especially her self-titled album, I feel like the promotion could have been better. And Barry Hankerson, the the one who owned Blackground Records, the same one who don't want to release Aaliyah's music today, Barry Hankerson and his son Jomo Hankerson, who also worked with the record label, they really held Aaliyah back from more success that she could have had. So let's get into it. Because with discussions about Aaliyah, especially when it's pertaining to her peers like Beyond Destiny's Child, Brandy, Monica, whatever, people always want to bring up sales. Oh, Brandy and Monica was outselling her. Destiny's Child was outselling her. Beyonce was outselling her. Oh, Aaliyah was, and I'm like, wow. And it's like, okay, when you look at it, Aaliyah's sales were like in the middle. It wasn't the highest, it wasn't the lowest. It was like straight in the middle, double platinum, triple platinum. But I'm looking at it, Aaliyah could have had more number one hits, and she could have sold more records. But Barry Hankerson made bad decisions on his part that prevented Aaliyah from having more success than she had. Now, Aaliyah was humble enough to accept whatever success she had, whether she was number 58 on the charts or whether she had a number one hit like she did with Try Again. She was that humble where that didn't really affect her. She didn't do music for number one hits and Grammys. She did it because she respected the craft. That's what she wanted to do. She always said it. Ever since she was a little girl, she always wanted to do music. So any success she had was good enough for her. But as I look at it, I really want to dig into the success she could have had, the more success she could have had. Don't get me wrong, she was already successful, but she could have been more successful. Let's take into account how I said this in my last video about Aaliyah's legacy. People say, oh, Aaliyah's last album, it didn't pick up until she died. Now, while that's semi-true, any artist that died, especially, she had just released an album a month ago. Any artist that died, their album sales is going to pick up and, soar. Michael Jackson died. His album sales soared. Whitney Houston, Prince, you get this, you get it. Any artist that dies, and especially she had just released an album, of course her album sales is going to pick up. But people don't realize that Aaliyah's album, self-titled album, was already certified gold, 500,000 copies shipped and sold before she died. The week before she died, actually. I'm going to post it right here. The week before she died, it was already certified gold. So people act like Aaliyah was like, she sold like 30,000 copies and it just went to the bottom of the charts. No, they picked the wrong first single choice. We need a resolution. As I said before, that was a dope song. The video was dope too, but that song wasn't really a radio friendly, ear candy type of song to where the radio DJs would spin it, people would keep requesting it, to where it would circulate, where people would be like, oh, let me get this Aaliyah album when it come out. It was just like, people felt the song, some people didn't. It was what it was. It was a different sound that Timberland was working on. But if she would have released More Than a Woman or Rock the Boat first, that would have garnered more success for that album. Just like I'm thinking about it, Rock the Boat was even a single around that time, but it was like an album cut. But because the song was so popular and radio DJs started to pick up on it, they started spinning it, the radio started playing it, it started charting. And that's why they rushed to do that music video. So you really think about it, the radios was always playing it. People, even today, we all know what happened after the video, but people feel like that's one of Aaliyah's best songs. So why would you make her, especially for the summer, why would y'all make her shoot the video at the end of the summertime? Like the promotion just wasn't there. The logic just wasn't there. They made her do that at the end of the summer when they should have been did that before the summer started. That single could have been the promotion for Aaliyah's last album. After We Need a Resolution, they seen that the single stopped at number 59 on the charts. Barry Hankerson, nobody, they didn't do nothing else. They didn't release no more songs. They didn't do nothing else to really accelerate the album. So that's why when you look it up, it says after she released it, the album started selling diminishingly, as Wikipedia would say. That's for a reason. After We Need a Resolution, nothing else was promoted with the album, and that song didn't do so well on the charts because it wasn't radio friendly. Like I said, that's why the album was selling slowly after that. But say for example, a year prior to that, Try Again came out, right? Try Again was one of Aaliyah's biggest, if not one of her biggest single. It went number one. It charted high in all these countries. She got a Grammy nomination, all of that, right? And that song went number one. Aaliyah made history. She was the first artist in Billboard history to go number one based on airplay alone. Come on. That song was being played on the radio so much that it went straight to number one. But that's after Billboard had changed their rules. Imagine if Try Again was a part of Aaliyah's last album promotion. Now, even though we know that was a part of Romeo Must Die, just imagine if they, and to be honest, they didn't, Aaliyah's music, Barry Hankerson, he didn't really promote her music the way he should have. Like, say for example, if she was on Arista, Columbia, Epic, LaFace, record companies like that, they knew how to promote their artists, i.e. Mariah Carey, i.e. Whitney Houston, i.e. Toni Braxton, TLC. They knew how to really promote their artists and their singles. So Barry Hankerson just had a thing where he would release Aaliyah's music and just let it do what it does. Now, because of Aaliyah's music was so good and her popularity, it did great, but it could have been better. You know what I'm saying? Another example of where Barry Hankerson made bad decisions was Are You That Somebody? Now, Are You That Somebody is another one of Aaliyah's biggest songs. That song, you could not, just like Try Again, Are You That Somebody and Try Again, you could not turn on the radio back then without hearing them songs. I was young at the time, but I still remember. You could not turn on the radio. You could not turn on the radio without hearing Are You That Somebody or Try Again. You could not turn on MTV or BET without seeing the music video. But for some reason, even though that was a part of the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack, Barry Hankerson didn't think that it was that good enough or whatever to make it a single, a commercial single, a retail single for people to buy in stores. So what happened? He let it just hit the radio stations, and it charted at number 21 based on the airplay only. And that's after Billboard had changed their rules to let airplay only singles be charted. Imagine if Barry Hankerson released it as a single. I'm pretty sure, as popular as that song was, I'm looking it up, it spent 9 weeks on top of the hip hop and R&B airplay charts, just like The Boy's Mine by Brandy and Monica, and that went to number one. But that was released as a single. If Aaliyah's Are You That Somebody was released as a single and not just an airplay single, before Billboard changed their rules, I'm positive it went number one. But Barry Hankerson, of course, the same one who don't want to release Aaliyah's music now, he just let the ball drop. Oh, he just released it to the radio stations. Aaliyah released the music video, which was one of her best videos by itself. No proper promotion, he didn't release it as a single to really elevate and push that song. So that's Aaliyah's Are You That Somebody that could have went number one. That's Aaliyah's last album that could have sold more. And Try Again could have had better promotion too. It was a great song, and the radio stations played it. It got it to number one because Billboard changed the rules at the last minute, luckily. But that song could have been, it could have been like really elevated. Barry Hankerson dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. The same one who dropped the ball on many other artists too. For example, Blackground Records. He also messed up other artists too, like Tank, Toni Braxton, JoJo. He messed up JoJo so bad that JoJo had to re-record her whole entire first album because of all the legal trouble with releasing the music. So Aaliyah's not the only one from that record company that had problems with the music. JoJo had to record her whole first album just because of all the legal troubles and the mess that Barry Hankerson was doing with that record company. It's just crazy because it's like Aaliyah entrusted her uncle to really help her career, and you know, she, even though she was executive producer for her self-titled album, that she didn't even want We Need a Resolution to be her top. She didn't even want We Need a Resolution to be her first single choice. She wanted Loose Rap. But of course, you know, she, after a while, it's like she had the executive producer label, but they still wanted to do it their way, which in the end, you see how it ended up. Listen to her music with all these legal troubles he had and being stubborn about it. But it's like that record company was ran by two knuckleheads, Barry Hankerson and Jomo Hankerson, and they really prevented Aaliyah from having more success than she already had. She was very successful, but she could have been more successful. And this is just something in my mind because I always see people debating about it and trying to bring up Aaliyah sales, like, but people don't know the history behind Aaliyah sales. They were good, but they could have been elevated with better promotion from her label, Blackground, the same label ran by the same man who's also her uncle that don't want to release her music now. That's just my thoughts on the whole situation. I was thinking about it. You know, every time I see this discussion, something told me to just come and make this video and share my thoughts with other people. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Aaliyah fans out there agree with me. So let me know what y'all think about the whole situation with Aaliyah's album promotions and her single promotions. And what do you think about the whole situation I talked about Barry Hankerson and Blackground Records really holding back Aaliyah from more success that she could have had? Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let's talk about it in the comments below. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a great discussion. Hit the notification bell. I think it's on this side. Hit the notification bell so you can always see when I post. And thank you for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video.